The various
Let's go. It's your host, Nick Perrette, and you're listening to Commercial Roofing Radio. This is the hottest radio station in the roofing world. We are your favorite place to hang out, learn, and shoot the shit. So sit back in your truck's chair, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Commercial Roofing Radio. Our next guest is the legendary Jasin Quimby. Jasin is the president of sales and business partner at Coastal Claims. They are a public adjusting firm, so if you're a contractor, Coastal Claims can negotiate the claims for your clients, aka the policy holders. He received his business degree from Florida State University. Go Seminoles, hey? We actually met at Roofers in Recovery go-kart fundraiser, hosted by Hale Trace in Oklahoma. This dude's got wheels. He can move on the go-kart. He's pretty quick. He's also got the guns too. You can see this guy's got some big muscles over there. So maybe he'll give us some workout tips if we're lucky. I can only hope, you know. In his Facebook bio, it says, understanding my purpose every day, improving my mission every day. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Purpose, positivity, energy, community, surrounding yourself with motivated individuals and how that leads to better customer service and experience, improved branding for prospects and new potential employees, and of course, fun, growth-minded culture. Jasin, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us. Sounds like you're living the dream. Sounds like you're headed to Europe here pretty soon, hey?
Yes, sir. Tomorrow morning, I'm out of here.
Tomorrow morning, taking off.
Yeah. I appreciate you putting this together. I appreciate you letting me on this show. So I'm a big fan, so I'm honored to be part of it.
Hey, we were stoked to have you. You know, we had you on the Star Build Grow Show. You had some great stuff. You really came prepared, and I always appreciate that. So, you know, before we get going, man, those arms are looking pretty big. Do you have any of those workout tips, or what's going on over there? What's your secret sauce?
All right, then let's make the word of the day consistency.
Consistency.
No matter what you do, just be consistent.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
We all know that expression. You only get good at what you practice.
Amen to that.
You know,
repetition, right?
That's it. Just show up, work every day, be consistent.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. Be consistent. That's going to be a common theme for sure as we go about this. So, you know,
Absolutely.
We're going to be talking a lot, like I said, about, you know, community, positivity, you know, bringing energy, growth mindset individuals into the workplace, right? Finding purpose in your work, even though it may be roofing, maybe it's a little bit hard for you to really understand what that purpose could be. We're going to really dive into that. But before we do, you know, obviously you're a public adjuster. So what do you like about public adjusting? You know, do you have any favorite clients or projects you've been part of? Tell us a little bit about your time in the space.
I was an independent adjuster for about a year and a half before I went into the transition of public adjusting. And I really enjoyed, as an IA, helping people be as independent as possible, or at least I thought it was. And then when I made the transition to the public adjuster side, I really got to emotionally feel the impact we can really, really have on the local communities wherever there's storm damage, right? So I've got 100 stories I could tell about showing up to a little house where grandma, they offered her $500 and we might have got her $55,000. And that is not her making a penny. It was just how do we really help make an impact on people who are really, really going through hard times. So that is what motivates me. That's my purpose.
Mm-hmm. I love that, man. And the thing is, you always have the good energy. And that's why I wanted to bring that into the talking points for today's conversation, and kind of what benefits it can have as a business owner or at a cultural standpoint. You know, like I feel like you're a great networker. You know, if I see you at a trade show or whatever it might be, you know, you're always smiling. You have good energy. You have good energy. You know, good conversation, everything like that. what advice do you have for maybe a commercial contractor who's looking to grow their business through networking? Because I feel like you've done a great job with that.
It's something I got to be honest, I've been focusing on more so in the last 6 months than I ever have before. And I think it's only because by the grace of God, I have an opportunity to say what I'm about to say. I wouldn't have said this a couple years ago because I don't know if I would have the same conviction as I do now. I feel like when I'm reaching out to contractors and contractors are building relationships, I don't think they're really qualifying each other as much as they let the motivation of financial benefits steer them. Right. So right now, and this has kind of been a joke for the last few months, but I ran into a contractor twice last week in Texas, and I asked him all the same question, almost every single one. So it's starting to be like a funny inside joke. Would you agree, Mr. Texas contractor, that 50% of the contractors in Texas are douchebags? And everybody responds the same way. 50% is low, is how they respond. So then I take that and I go, so you would agree there's going to be a handful of people I don't want to work with. Because if we're in a business relationship, mutually beneficial, and we sincerely care about each other, and we have a partnership, I want to, and I kind of tell these guys, I want to be in a business, somebody I can go have a drink with, I can go go-karting with, I want to hang out with, that has nothing to do with business. So it's the mindset of, who do you want to hang out with? That's who you want to be business partners with. So I'm steering that as my motivation. I'm allowed to be picky who I want to be in business with.
So when you're looking for, let's say, strategic partners, right, in the industry, are you only looking for people that you would hang out with? Are you saying, like, is that a good mindset going into business? Hey, when you're looking at people to do business with, whether it's a client or a strategic partner, make sure you guys can sit down and have a beer together. You guys can sit down and have a meal together or something like that, or not necessarily?
I use that as a guideline, right? Because there are some beneficial relationships I have. We are different personality types, but they are good people. They just have a different approach to things, and there's value for both of us to have that dialogue or communicate with each other. So I use it as a guideline to say, if you have to question, do I want to get in bed with this business relationship? You say, I don't even want to hang out with him. What do you think it's going to be like when he's not happy with your service? And I don't care who you are. Nobody's perfect. You will mess up. Balls will get dropped. It's human nature. Nobody can prevent it. But how you proactively have relationships built around that, it makes a big difference in the long term. Like for example, your industry, your business model. I know, and this is kind of why I'm a fan of yours, I know from other contractors that do business with you, I'm going to paraphrase this, a lead is a lead.
Yep.
Right? And then there's what is the service behind the product that you're selling? So everyone loves you because you stand behind your product, you stand behind it, and you service it to the death, no matter what. You're not petty. You'll really, really take care of them. But at this point, there's your differential. They know you give a shit.
Yep. That's huge. Right? That goes a long, long way for sure. And caring too, I think it goes back into the purpose in the workplace, right? And then goes into the passion and that energy. You've always got that. You always got the good energy. And if you're thinking about like your top performances, it doesn't matter if it's sports, it doesn't matter if it's business, where you have just that good energy, right? You know it.
Thank you.
You know you're confident, you're feeling good, you're excited to be there. Think about that. How important is that? For not only let's just say the owner, I guess, right? To be showing up with that kind of energy, because that trickles into everybody else, right? And then that team that you're trickling into is now trickling into the customers and the conversations they're having with your team members. It's pretty wild. Why do you think you always have that energy? How do you make sure that every day you're showing up, bringing it?
So that's a good question, and I think that's a great foundation of why this topic today is an important one. I typically, and I say we all know those people who are constantly negative, bitching 24/7. Does that inspire you? Does that make you distance yourself? So if you're in a leadership role, if you're an owner of a company, why would you want to condition your whole culture to say this behavior is good? This behavior is going to help anybody in any capacity. So this is why I'm really passionate about the company culture structure and the why behind it, because there's so many benefits. Who wants to hang out with somebody bitching 24/7? Nobody. So if they can count on you being consistent at being positive, you know what? I'm going to hang out with this guy. We can at least associate and network with each other of like-minded people who really care about the industry, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So is that kind of what you say your purpose is? And then, I mean, what advice do you have for somebody who's, a roofing business owner to find purpose? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, all they're doing is putting on roofs, right?
Well, we all know there's that Chuck with a truck, right? So, and I typically tell this to a lot of contractors across the country. I've spoken to hundreds of contractors. And then I go, are you the same as the Chuck with a truck? And then they immediately give me 10 reasons why they're not. So I always say, even in the PA world, there's shitty PAs, and then there's some really, really, really talented people who are going to help shape the new direction of the industry. And I feel like the industry needs to raise its bar a little bit and across the board.
That's good. I like that. So, I mean, I feel like that could even be the purpose for just the roofing business owners right there, right? I mean,
oh, yeah.
If you're looking, obviously, I mean, creating opportunity for other people is always a great one to lean on to, right? But I mean, if you're looking at, hey, maybe an industry that's kind of got, a black eye that doesn't have the best representation, right? You can come in here and kind of just flip the script, right? Show how to run the business effectively, profitably, how to create growth opportunities for people, right? How to communicate with customers and give a really high-end customer experience, right? Yep. You can come in and change the game.
100%. 100%.
And when you're doing things differently like that, you better believe that your customers are going to notice it too.
1,000%. And I literally did a speaking event, and this is the first time I've ever done this out loud at the speaking event. I got to tell my story that I've never told another soul, like some kind of embarrassing how my background, where I grew up, and then the conversation's going, and I kind of brought up, are there douchebag kids out there in this industry? Are there douchebag people in this world? The answer is yes. And then I asked this guy in the audience who has a daughter. He raised his hand. And then I go, what kind of guy do you want your daughter to marry? And he's like, well, a good guy. Where do you think these good guys come from? Who's educating them? Who's their mentors? Where's the standard that says this is what normal should be, right? Why are we not having those conversations? If you're in a leadership role, I feel down deep in my core, it's your responsibility to train the next generation to be the new leaders that they can lead by example. Because fortunately and unfortunately, we're in a transition period right now. The average age of a contractor in the country, let's just call it 40 years old. Let's just say the average owner, between that mixed bag there. Well, when they were 20 years old, they had a different generation teaching them those habits. So now we know today's 20-year-old is a whole different breed, a whole different perspective on life. So I feel like any owner, business, any kind, it's your responsibility to say, hey, you're doing a great job. You either have work ethic or you don't. But those skills that in their personal life also represent who they are in business. If you're shady in your personal life, you're probably shady in business. So it's just, I'm really big on how do we create the young men in life that somebody you would give approval to marry your daughter? And it's the easiest way to try to move that dial.
My thing is, so how do you make that a priority? So let's just say, back to the roofing situation. So how do you make the growth and development of these individuals, not only at a career standpoint, in those skill sets, but also just personally, right? How do you make sure that that's happening? Because think about it, you got a list of things you got to get done already, right? How do I add this to it, right? Because most people aren't doing that. Let's be honest. There's a lot of companies that really don't have something set up like that.
100%. So in the simplest answer, it would be to live and breathe from the top down every day your core values, whatever they are, right? So if your whole company knows the core values, they know you actually mean them, it just doesn't look good on the wall, right? It's not something that you post on your website just so it looks good. If your whole company understands that you believe in those cultures, the core values, they will fall in line and they will start to believe it. So when you bring in new teammates, new employees, what's going to happen? They now have not one guy talking about core values. You literally have a whole company who believes in those core values. So then it perpetuates that same belief system. It does take time. It does take consistency, right? But you've got to do it from the top down, not just talk about it. You can't be an asshole in front of your staff and tell them to be nice. So that'd be the easiest way of doing it. That'd be a good starting point.
I didn't really realize how important the core values were in the beginning. and then in the beginning too, you're kind of just making them up, right? Because they kind of come together as you're building out the team, right? As you kind of build out the team, you start to see some similarities, what you guys kind of, hold each other, what standards you hold each other to. But we built ours out, and eventually it started to stick. I think we could do a better job of bringing them out, especially with some of the new people. But accountability, right? We keep each other accountability, right? Love is accountable, right? We're all here, believe in each other, counting on each other to succeed. Accountability, growth, right?
Love it.
Growth, mindset, everything. We're always trying to grow. We're always trying to try new things, right? We're always trying to develop. Family, treat each other with love and respect. Collaboration. We think about, we're a young team, right? Collaboration is huge. Everybody loves collaborate. And when you're looking at millennials, right, it goes a long way. And then communication. Communication is so big, right? Communication is probably the number one, I would say, too. And then the thing is if a team member isn't following those, now other team members can call each other out and be like, hey, we promised we're always going to communicate. You did not give us a heads up on this, and we missed this. You know what I mean? So it's a great way to kind of hold everybody accountable at the same time, too.
I would challenge everybody, call your company headquarters, right? Call your office when you're not around. And whoever picks up the phone, say, hey, this is such and such. What are our core values? Call them out and make them uncomfortable, because if they either know it or they don't, it shouldn't even be something I have to think about. So it's just one of those things that they have to know it so they can repeat it.
Yeah.
And they have to believe in it, obviously, because your actions are going to really dictate that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I'll give you an example of the values of it. And this is my question. I'm going to kind of propose a few today, but every business owner across the country spends hundreds of thousands of dollars in training, recruiting dollars, HR, just to manage new people coming in. And there's that training and learning curve. Regardless of where they're at, there's all that money invested. And this industry probably has the highest turnover. It's probably one of the highest attrition rates of people coming and going all the time. And I always ask contractors, why? If you know it's going to happen, why does this happen? What behaviors are we practicing that cause this? And usually it comes down, like you said, communication. But when you're hiring these guys, is the expectation saying, I know you've never sold a roof before, but if you work hard, you can make $400,000 your first year. So here's the expectation. And they make $30,000 their first year. Now they're quitting because they're pissed off, right? What happens is you spent all that time training this guy now to go to somewhere else and be an amazing employee somewhere else. Because now he's got the skills that you gave him with a better understanding of his network, but now he can go somewhere else because you lied to him in the beginning. He's not making $400,000 his first year. Has it ever happened? Absolutely. 200,000, 3. But I always feel like, to be an honest leader, you need to say, you might make $40,000, $50,000 this first year, just because you're going through the learning curve. But it's an investment into your education that I'm going to give you for my ROI, and you, as the owner, to say, I feel like you're going to be a great fit for the long term. And I'm okay with that path and momentum of you growing as a person. And if you say that and they make $75,000, they will love you forever, because they saw the value of what you're putting into them, not just telling them, you show up, you'll make a shit ton of money, right? So that's kind of, I feel like, where they waste hundreds of thousands of dollars in recruiting and training because they're not being honest. That's the number easiest target I get make fun of.
Setting expectations, right? Not overselling the position and everything like that. I mean, don't be just saying that right off the bat, right? And I would say, employee retention is probably one of the biggest issues in the roofing contracting world. And sometimes it starts with actually the hiring and onboarding and, all that kind of stuff, actually, right? So you're always consistently hiring, and then you get stressed out about not having good quality people. It depends on what your brand is, but for me, it depends who I'm trying to track too. But if I was trying to track people, like around my age, around that 30, I'm probably going to be trying to attack like tech sales, right? In all honesty, I mean, that'd be my approach, right? It would fit well with my approach or with my brand and everything like that, and create an environment that kind of fits that style. You know what I mean? We don't have to be living in the Stone Age when it comes to the office space, right? Create a cool office space that's intriguing to work at, that's got that like good energy and everything like that we're talking about. It's the vibe, but it's all about culture and workplace, and make sure you're taking care of your people. What about during the hard times, let's say? So let's say, leadership is easy, right? When times are good. I mean, everything's easy
Yep.
when times are good. But what about when it's a little bit more of a struggle? Over the last couple of years, whether it's COVID or if you're in a market like Denver, you haven't been getting hail and you usually get hail, stuff like that. How does a leader still, keep everybody locked in and come in with that good attitude to make sure that they get through that obstacle?
Great question, and I'm glad you brought this up. So it wasn't something I was gonna say, but I absolutely appreciate you bringing that up. So there's two parts to that. There is the expectation when you hire somebody, right? And if you're in a leadership role, regardless of what it is, I kind of look at it from this perspective. If that employee fails for any reason but one, it is my fault. I should not have hired him. I should have set expectations better. I should have communicated better. I should have given him resources to be successful. He needs those tools. I also need to follow up consistently so he's staying on course. And I also need him to be really engaged with the whole community at the organization. And if he's plugged in, he knows he's got value and purpose there. And if you don't, and the only reason they would fail, the only time I ever say it's not my fault, is if you really are a lazy person, you have no work ethic. I can't fix that. Right. And the other thing when you're qualifying these people to come on board is, and I put out a thing a while ago, I'm looking for PAs. The most important thing to us is, do you have integrity? That's it. I can train you how to be a PA. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Right? I can teach you how to get on a roof and what to look for to qualify the damage assessment report. I can teach you how to run hail trace. But if you don't have integrity in line first or the work ethic, nothing I could do will help fix you as a person. Or you'll never be successful in any organization if those are your characteristic traits anyways, right? So that's part one, is qualifying them and own it. I should not have hired them. There's a famous guy named Gary Vee who says, hire fast, fire faster, right? Everyone hires because it makes them feel good, but they have a hard time firing people, not because they are afraid of it, because they have to admit they were wrong. And they have to suck up that pride to go, yeah, I should have hired him. Own it. Fire him faster. Suck up your ego and go, I made a mistake, right? It happens every day. All right, so part two to your question, and it goes back to the purpose thing. So building that culture during the hard times is one, qualifying them, really set expectations. I absolutely let them know there's going to be hard times. You're going to get your ass kicked, right? It's part of it's part of business. So this is why when I ask somebody when I'm going to hire them, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to be a PA? Why do you want to be in this industry? And so I'm kind of digging to find out what their purpose of showing up to a job is. Because I've, again, talked to hundreds of contractors, and a lot of these guys make really good money. And all of us will jokingly say, you ever made so much money, you would literally just pay somebody just so you could sleep for a little bit? Because you're so exhausted, you're so tired, you go 100 miles an hour. So money doesn't have value when you're just trying to survive. So you can't do any industry based on the pure soul value of money, because it depreciates really fast when times are hard. And then your quality of life is gone, and then you can't even live your life. What's the purpose of killing yourself? So if you let them know out of the gate, my job is to protect you and your family. My responsibility is for you to be successful. My job is to put you in a position so you can become the next leader. And if you can move in that direction, I will absolutely go into battle for you. And they know you mean it. They will show up and give 110% every single time. In the hard times, they know you care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's well said. I think at a leadership standpoint, you got to be thinking your team's looking at you being like, can you help me achieve my goals, right? Can you protect me, making sure that I'm getting financially taken care of, right? Are you going to help me develop? Do you care about me? Those are the questions they're asking, right? And if somebody feels like they're a very valued person in the workplace, they're probably not going to leave, right? I mean, I always think about the places that I worked at that I didn't enjoy. It usually started with the management, right? Where I had some kind of issue where I felt like I wasn't valued there, or they didn't care about me, or I was just another number, or whatever it might be. And I didn't have any commitment, right? But when you start to create that connection with people, they're not going to want to leave that, you know? It's hard to find that. Majority of people don't actually like where they work. I think it's like 83% or something like that don't actually like where they work, right? So it's like, which is crazy. If you really think about it, like 4 out of 5, we'll just say, right? 4 to 5 Americans do not like their job, right? So 80%, 4 to 5, right? So there's only one of those 5 people that actually likes going to work. So if you can create that kind of atmosphere where people enjoy coming to work, that's such a huge advantage. That is such a huge advantage. Because at some point, the money is, like you were saying, the money stops making you happy, right? So that kind of that blends in where now it's like, all right, well, I actually want to enjoy what I'm doing because I don't want to be living in hell and making a bunch of money. I don't care about that. I'm trying to be happy, man.
That's it. I'm going to say a quote I'm stealing from somebody. People don't quit companies. People quit people. Right? You don't quit your job. You quit because of a manager. You quit because toxic environment or it's just not the right culture for them. So when you talk to the leaders top down, ask them why they can't keep people, and they might not be aware it's actually their management that is dictating the pace of the culture there.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
They're quitting because either they're an asshole or they weren't hired properly.
Exactly. 100%. So you worked with roofing companies all over the country. I'm sure you can kind of tell who's running a real smooth operation and who might be a little bit choppy. What are some of the similarities you're seeing with really solid contractors?
What kind of contractors?
Solid. It's like really impressive. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like
Sure.
well-oiled machine, good people, everything like that.
I've got this one really easy. So I do training classes for contractors across the country, and I kind of present this from a relationship management class, right? Because let's be honest, every contractor gets a door knocking 101 every single week. So they understand the basic sales transaction that needs to happen. So I come from a very customer service hospitality background. So I kind of say, are you trying to build relationships? Because if you are, this is how you do it. This is how you service it. This is how you follow up. So there's a gap in that training across the country, right? So I will tell most contractors this. If you look at the top 100 contractor list, if you look at the top 10, that I believe is 100 million and higher, almost none of those guys are on Facebook showing off the checks they got from the insurance company. And the answer is, or the question is why, right? How does that correlate into being successful? So I kind of paint a picture as, if you own an investment company and you own 100 properties and commercial properties, are you going to give it to that kid? You might be a nice guy, or a very professional organization who runs a smooth operating ship. They don't have to worry about, are they going to be in business next month? So when people want to talk about grow and build, does your brand, is it cohesive with what you're trying to accomplish, which is you're a professional, you're an expert in your community, you know what you're doing, and you stand behind your product or services. So really, really honing down. Those rock stars, very professional. They have their act together, and it translates into hundreds of millions of dollars. Versus the guy who is figuring out, I'm trying to grow, it crumbles, and they have to, the ebb and flow of that system happens a lot, and they don't know how to fix it. And this is kind of where I'm like, here's things to be aware of that can at least give you some more consistency when you grow.
I love that. I love that thought process, and I think branding is interesting. There's contractors that understand it and they're willing to invest in it, and then there's some who I think they just don't really comprehend it because obviously they're a very ROI centric. I need to see the numbers, or maybe they don't want to invest into the long term because they don't truly understand it. There's definitely a ton of value there, and I think it really comes back to reverse engineering it, right? So what's the brand that I want to play? What's the role I want to play in the marketplace, right? And so let's say it's, hey, I want to be one of these top contractors, right? Well, what do they look like? You know what I mean? What kind of presentations are they utilizing? What kind of trucks are they driving? What are they wearing? You know what I mean? What kind of website do they have? How many reviews do they have? All that, right? And just reverse engineer it and start playing the part of what these people are doing. You know what I mean? And what's cool about the internet is, even before you're that big, you can convince somebody through your online presence that you're either, more experienced or a larger organization than you actually are, right? I mean, if you're a small company, all of a sudden you have 155-star reviews, great website, you're consistent on social media, all that kind of stuff. They're going to be thinking that you're actually much larger than you are. So you can definitely fake it till you make it in a way.
1,000%. 1,000%. I think we all, if anybody's on any of these Facebook groups on social media in regards to the contracting community, we see those guys every day, posting twice a day. Some of them are good guys. Some are just very shallow in the sense of what they're trying to accomplish. And those are the results they're going to get. And they're always kind of chasing that circle.
Yep. It's, keep your ego out of it. The ego thing is interesting too, because I think a lot of business owners do have it. And sometimes, as a business owner, you couldn't really figure out another career that worked out for you. So like, you eventually ended up here, you're out to something fruit or whatnot. But with the contract world, sometimes these guys, they take off so quick, right? So sometimes they don't have those humbling moments. All of a sudden there's millions of dollars are coming in, and they just started the company last year. So the ego is still there a little bit. And I think it's some new companies, some startups and stuff like that. Maybe it takes you a little bit longer. You keep kicked in, and then you get humbled along the way. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. You either get humble or you don't, but always keep that ego down, right? Because it will come back to haunt you for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I see that every month. I see those conversations happen. Jason, I just need more employees. Why can't you keep them? Because they grow too fast, and then they crumble, and the process starts over again. For sure.
I mean, do you believe in that growing too fast a little bit, or is it
wholeheartedly? I've been here at Coastal now since February. I've been here 4 months, and our primary focus is building this foundation, building the team, building out systems and processes. So no matter where we are in the country, we all are following the same system. Mm-hmm. So I absolutely believe in that, because I could I'll go in this story. Do you like Bud Light?
Yeah, I like Bud.
I'll drink a Bud Light. I'll drink a Bud Light.
You'll drink a Bud Light. That's what I'm kind of asking. So I tell everybody all the time, nothing in any industry or any business is more important than service. And it's a very common, hot button, fun word to say because it sounds cool, but most people don't know how to implement it and do it actually. So I'll give you an example. We're always in a battle of who's got the best price, fighting each other on who can get the bid or deal, because the price is their motion. Where these big boy contractors, these top 10, all will tell you we're not the cheapest guys around. And they're getting the most business because they can service it, they can warranty, they can manage it, they're consistent, right? So they can charge more, and they get it because there's value there in service. So the Bud Light story is, if you walk into a restaurant, sit at the bar, and there's a beautiful bartender there, and she knows she's good looking, and she gives you a Bud Light, and doesn't talk to you again, you basically like, can I please get another beer? Right? Can I please get another beer? Why are you on your phone or talking to those guys at the end of the bar? Like, you're gonna make me feel very special. Like, you're not even engaging with me at all. At that point, how much does that Bud Light cost you?
At that point?
Yeah, how much does that Bud Light cost?
I mean, it's pretty cheap, right? A Bud Light?
It's pretty cheap. What,
right?
$4?
All right, let's say go $4. Let's say it was $2.
Mm-hmm.
If I told you you could go spend $3 down the road at a different place, and the personality is amazing, and they will talk to you and treat you like you're a VIP, would you spend 50% more to have a better service on the same product? So I try to paint that picture to say service matters, but price does not. That is the least important thing out of everything out there. If you know the sales three-legged stool story, there's only 3 ways to buy anything. There's the price, the quality, and service. But you only get to pick 2. Do you know that story?
Let's hear it.
So, especially contractors, if you want some really good tools to work on your truck, you don't go to Walmart. That's not where you go for good tools, because there's no quality there. Who goes to Walmart for service? Nobody. So you go there because the price point fits a commodity that you don't really care about, so then price will be actually has value there. So if you want something that has a quality product and service, you're going to go to a different place. Be that place that is the high quality service and product that you're offering. And make it a point to say, we will never be the cheapest, because we stand behind our stuff really, really passionately. That's one of my approaches on making contractors kind of stand their ground. Don't budge on your price.
I think you know that.
I mean, I remember I was in Arizona. I was in Scottsdale a couple of weeks ago, and I went to a restaurant, and the food was great. but the service and the environment, everything was unbelievable. And I would have paid more money just for that alone, because that's really what makes it is that experience, right? And so you're able to create that high experience. And for me, I'm not wealthy by all means, but if I'm going to buy something, I try to never go cheap because I know the consequences of going cheap, right? So if you're known, if your brand is known as, hey, expert, gets it taken care of, communication, right? All that kind of stuff, right? Good. If something goes wrong, takes care of it, right? You will be able to charge higher prices, right? So do
All day.
that, all day. So do that, and think about this. These commercial property owners, right? They're business people, right? They're always trying to figure out ways where it's like, hey, how can I have a resource I can count on that I know is not going to go haywire? And I'm willing to pay a little because then I know I don't have to deal with that fire anymore, right? That's covered. I already know that blah blah roofing's got me covered.
Yeah. It's being consistent that gives you that trust.
Consistency, that's the consistency.
Right.
Everything
It's consistency, right?
We're in the world where we're all salesmen of some kind. And we all know what a sales pitch sounds like, feels like as it's happening. And depending on how it's delivered, don't you think that your end user, the clients, your customers, those relationships can smell a BS sales pitch, right? So they have to hear that you are consistently showing up, you consistently care, for you to add value to their lives. Otherwise, why do they need you? Or why would they pick somebody else who's $50 cheaper, right? Because everyone sounds the same. So it's a big deal to really own that service department for sure.
Well, yeah, it's funny. We were looking for data, right? We were going to start doing some prospecting on our side of things, right? So we're looking for some new lists, something like that. We just wanted to buy a data source because everything we do is surrounded, whether it's for our clients or for ourselves, everything's around data, right? And we had a demo or whatever, my presentation from one of these companies, and
the purpose is so good,
right? That it just made it like the sales experience was like, well, obviously we'll go with this. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it really comes back to your service, your customer experience. If it's that good, it just makes sense to go with it.
Yeah. Yes. I kind of keep this little part a secret, but I own a marketing company and I have for the last 5 years. And
I saw that. I was going to bring that up. I saw your LinkedIn when I was researching you.
And we approach everything as a very business consultant first. So let's just go with the restaurant theme or whatever it is. And then you're asking for marketing, which is code for I need sales. So all I hear in that red flag statement is we don't have sales because of XYZ, which I'm of the belief, business 101, you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to get some business. And then there's a disconnect somewhere where why aren't these people returning? Why aren't they giving you referrals? Why isn't your business growing naturally or organically? Why do you need an outside sales source to get your business staying afloat? So I really kind of think anybody who owns a company should really look at it from a very neutral standpoint, going, what can we improve on so we can naturally grow? Like there are tons of companies out there who absolutely grow organically all the time, and then they spend almost no money marketing because their service is their background of how they're growing.
And so you think that's possible then? You think you don't have to spend money on marketing? You think that's if your service is that good?
I'm talking established, really, really, really established in their community.
Because I always wonder when I hear we have word of mouth, we don't need anything else. I always wonder that.
It might be
statement. You think?
I'm sorry. What?
I think that's a legitimate statement.
When a contractor who is well established says we don't need any marketing help, everything's word of mouth. Is that a legitimate statement that you believe in or no?
No. And I'll tell you why. No one's in the business for sales. We're all in the business of profit. It goes through this motion and action and this sacrifice that we would do just to make our business be profitable. No one says, yeah, I made $100,000 last year. I'm good. What they're saying is they don't want to spend money because they don't trust somebody. And I will lean back on the marketing for McDonald's. Who doesn't know they exist? Who doesn't know what products they have? Everyone knows they're consistent, but they still spend $1 billion a year in marketing just to be front of mind when we all make choices. So I would never say get rid of marketing because you have a referral source locally, right? Because if you lose that it might be 25% of your business, or one employee screws it up. Now you start from scratch because you were being cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I like that answer. That's good. And even just the awareness thing, right? If it's word of mouth, well, you need to make sure you get your brand out there and making sure that everybody's aware of it, right? So they can keep telling other people about it. So you still got to stay active. You still got to stay active no matter what.
Absolutely.
So what we'll do is that we have a game coming up here in a second that we'll play. But I do want to say, make sure people can get a hold of you. First off, when should a contractor call a public adjuster, right? And then what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me would be Jasin at coastalclaims.net. And that is JASIN at coastalclaims.net.
Mm-hmm.
When a contractor should bring us in as soon as possible.
Yep.
We see a pattern that happens all the time, and when we explain it to them, it's really simple. If you bring us in after the determination's made, the reserve's been set here, you have some obstacles, when you bring in a PA later, they have an uphill battle. They have to restructure this. So you're kind of adding an extra delay to the process. I know 90% of the contractors in the country are very residential heavy, which I hear is very cash flow orientated. They only stick in that world because, one, it's either what they know, or two, they're dependent on that cash flow to turn and burn to pay the bills.
Yep.
Right? So people in the commercial space, a lot of the times, have the cash flow to go, if we get paid on that in 6 months, we're okay. Right? They know they can do a 30, 60, 90 net on the materials, but you're still paying out of pocket for labor to get these projects done. So the difference between the two is how they approach their business. And why.
Cash flow.
With the cash flow. As soon as possible.
And they're going to make decisions based on that.
Exactly. 100%. But yeah, make sure you guys are connecting with Jasin. Again, it's IN, so Jasin, IN.ON, and make sure that you're reaching out to them and hitting them up. Mm-hmm. They're doing some awesome things, and just great person to work with. So the next thing here is we will be playing a game, all right? And we had another name for it. We switched it up a little bit, kind of figuring it out, right? I believe this is episode number 6. But it's going to be Who Wants to Be a Roofing Millionaire, okay? Yeah.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
Oh, yeah. And basically what we'll do is we'll have 5 questions for you. You're going to get 2 lifelines. The first one's going to be 50-50, right? So that'll remove 2 of the wrong answers, leaving you with a 50% chance of getting it right. And the other one is phone a friend, right? So you get to call one person. If they don't pick up, you'll lose the lifeline. All right. And let's see here. So Danae actually put these questions together. The first one here, I'm already having some issues even saying some of these here. So we'll see how this goes here. But this is some of it's gonna be about you. Some of it's gonna be about things you like. Some things it could be about roofing. You kind of name it. All right. So first question. All right. So let's head back to college as a FSU alumni. You know that moments before kickoff, before a football game, a horse and his rider storm the field. What are the names of the mascots in this duo? A, Chief Cypress and his horse Storm.
Is it B, Chief
Osceola
and his horse Renegade? Is it C,
B.
Yo, you're already committed,
final
man.
answer.
Boom, and he is right. He's a man that is confident. I love it.
There you go.
All right, so how was the football games at FSU? Pretty good.
Life changing. Absolutely, it was life changing. And I'll say this: I'm a sports fan first. It's just happened to where I spent some time in my life. There's a lot of schools, good football schools in Florida and Texas, and all of us are passionate about your team, but I will always root for the underdog. I always root for the home state. So I really kind of love sports as a general consensus, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
All right, Coastal Claims, where are you guys located? The home base?
So we're 15 miles south of Daytona Beach, from the hub of the center of Daytona Beach. So we're literally, 2-3 miles from the beach. We have a huge building we own here. I would like to find another PA who possibly even has a building half this size. Mm-hmm. So we are really established here for sure.
I love it. Well, it sounds like
the home base is right. Is this is right on the shores of the Atlantic Ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what river is it situated in? Is it?
I'm
Man,
sorry,
she might be
what?
some with hard ones. I'm not that great of a reader. She does have some hard ones here. Is it A, Suwannee River? Is it B, Santa Fe River? Is it C, Indian River? Or D, Halifax River?
Oh, I'm gonna go with Indian River because we're literally in the middle between those two rivers touching each other. So it's kind of like right there, and the Indian River kind of goes up and down that direction, and Halifax is in Daytona Beach. So that's
And you are right again. 2 for 2. Hot
like, oh,
starts. Hot start. I love it. All right. Well, hey, obviously, as a public adjuster, now with coastal claims, you know a lot about insurance claims. What home insurance claims are the most common? Is it A, wind and hail, B,
Water damage and freezing, C, fire and lightning.
damage, or D, theft?
I'm probably go with water.
And finally gets one
Wrong. I really thought you were going to be the first one to get them all right. Doesn't use his lifelines. It is A, wind and hail.
There you go.
Hey, remember those lifelines? So in the lifeline situation, we had our first phone friend a couple episodes ago, and he called Paul Reed, and Paul Reed had the wrong answer. So,
Oh my goodness, that's funny. I forgot about my lifelines. Yeah.
All right, let's see here. What we got? All right. So prior to your career in claims, you spent about 20 years in the hospitality industry, from Viking to your dishwashing job at 15 to plenty of years in the restaurant and hotel management. What do you think is the most common complaint from a customer at a restaurant? Is it A, bad tasting food, B, meal or beverages served at incorrect temperature, C, slow service, or D, dirty utensils or table?
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with B.
It's
D. After a high
start. You're 0 for 2 in the last two. Man, not even using his lifeline. What a cocky man over here. Hey, keep your ego in check, all right? It is D, dirty utensils or table.
There you go.
Oh, I love it, man. All right, last question is for the Seminoles again. FSU football has a total of three three players that made it into the Heisman Hall of Fame. The first winner from FSU was Charlie Ward. What year did he take home the trophy? Was it A, 1990,
95.
C, 1993, was it or C, 1985, or D, 1999? Your answer was actually not on the list.
Let's go with 92. Yeah.
93.
Yeah.
Because I did that.
90 or 93?
93.
That's right.
At least you ended on a strong note. You ended on a strong note. You know your FSU football. FSU football saved you.
There we go.
So, all right. Hey, great playing with you. We'll be sending you some kind of prize in the mail. So, thank you for playing with us. Now, to end it, we always end it with a little bit of enlightenment. All right. So, you can give us a book suggestion. You can give us a quote. You can give us,
Whatever you want.
something that can have a positive impact.
Oh man, I'm gonna go. Let's stick. I can either do either one. I've got it all set up right now to knock out. Let's go with the life lesson, right? Because I think it's easy for everybody to go, "Hey, read this book. Here's why," and it's almost kind of like there's some depth to it, but let's go a little deeper. Here's a lesson I learned, and because this relates to sales, right? So in baseball, do you know what the average batting average is?
To average out of the whole league, what do you say? 220, 230.
Wow, you're absolutely closer than most people. It's 250, right? So 25%, right? So they get paid on average. Do you know what the average baseball player makes a year?
They get paid a lot of money. Those big. So I don't know, because I guess there's minors. So maybe I'll say $1 million just to be safe.
Close. 4.4 million a year if you bat 25%, 250. Right?
Okay, gotcha.
Right,
Gotcha.
Just across the board, these are these averages, right? So what I learned was the very successful people fail 75% of the time. They strike out 75% of the time to be average. So if you really want to make really good money, you just have to be above average in your industry. And you have to be okay to say, let's say you have a 300 batting average. You're still failing at 70% and you're above average, right? So when you're dealing sales and you're going to get rejected and you're going to have tough days and bad days, be okay. In fact, enjoy it when you get those no's and you have those conversations. One, you're going to either develop from it or you're going to die. So take everyone as a learning opportunity. So I want people to understand, it sucks sometimes when you get the door slammed in your face, but I know I'm a little bit closer because the math doesn't lie. I know if I fail only 60% of the times, we're golden in the baseball analogy. Same thing applies to football. I'm gonna make fun of Ezekiel Elliott, probably the highest paid running back right now in the industry, and the average carry per carry, the yards in the industry is 4 to 4.5% or 4.5 yards. He's at 5.3 yards a carry, and again, he makes $15 million a year, which is above average. The average running back in the NFL is $1.5 million a year. So because he's this much better than average, he is 10 times more paid, right? So I wanted to kind of give some context of it's okay to fail a lot if you're growing and becoming better, and if you're okay with that being part of your process and learning.
I like that a lot.
I remember.
He said, hey, you can fail 75% of the time, right? So maybe you don't close the deal 75% of the time or 70% of the time, whatever it might be.
Then they close in 3 out of 10.
Right? So you can still be successful with that, but that means you still need to be doing the activities, right? So the more active you are, the more bats you're going to get, right? And if you're going to have a low percentage, right? Let's just say close rate, whatever, you need to make sure you get those at bats, right? And eventually that close rate or whatever it might be will improve. But that's really, I like that too. So think about what your position is, what KPI is, so what's the metric that is tracked, and then you have an idea of some of the best performers in the space and where they're at, right? And then that's going to give you a kind of a metric to be like, hey, if I want to be the best of the best, I know that this person is doing this. This is where I need to be shooting for.
Yep. You said it earlier in the conversation, and I was going to interject. Tony Robbins says it all the time. You want to be successful? Just copy and paste what successful people are doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if you know in our industry what normal is, you just know you got to show up a little earlier in the morning, stay a little later every day, and you're going to be above average. Just really quick, but just showing up, for sure.
Show up, for real. Show up and make sure you're following up. See, that's another thing you work on. Follow up. Well, cool, man. It's been a pleasure hanging out. Thanks for joining us, Jason.
Honored to be here, man. Really, really excited to be here.
All right, buddy. Well, have a good one. Enjoy Europe, all right?
All right, Bob. Appreciate it, man. Thanks again.